What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's a good time to be a Marvel Rivals player, right? We've got the season 6.5 tier list with nearly 50 heroes in the game, hundreds of abilities, and a massive spectrum of player skill. It just makes it fun to rank every hero not once but twice, one for, the low rank and one for the high skill, because I think Rivals is one of the few games that a hero quite literally can be completely different depending on your own skill level and where you are within competitive play. We've seen it season after season that these heroes jump around where they land in the meta with their team ups and everything with it. You like this effect? Say what's up to Guang Guang. What's going on, buddy? Either way, guys, I know it, you know it. If you eat, breathe, and just completely live one hero, you could probably run lobbies, but today's tier list is going to be an average of how, your typical Johnny Rivals is going to play the game. Let's jump in. Now, guys, quickly before we get started, if you find yourself wanting something a little bit fresh and or love team shooters, you're going to love today's video sponsor, truly, Last Flag. Now, if you're like myself, if you've grown up playing shooters your whole life, one of the staple game modes is Capture the Flag. And, well, Last Flag is essentially a high-energy Capture the Flag, but the catch is you can hide your flag anywhere on this entire map. So it's less like chaotic grab and run, you know exactly where to go, and more kind of mind games, map control, and that's where the chaos ensues. If not from the enemy team, your own teammates, because they hate your hiding spot. You have 9 different contestants to play, all with their own abilities and big personalities. And with this, matches get chaotic pretty fast. And for me personally, what I found the most fun is either if I was the one that stumbled on the hidden flag location, or we both knew where each other's flags were. That's when it goes from one style of gameplay to just honestly complete fun. You've got radar towers that you fight over for map control, so there's a lot more than, just running around and trying to grab the flag and find it. Now, the best part is, guys, if you want to see if this game's for you, well, I've got good news, because right now the open beta is going on Steam. You can go in the description down below to find it, and you can hop in and just try it out and see if you enjoy it yourself. And while you do that in the open beta, by just playing, you're going to get yourself some cosmetic permanent unlocks, and that's always just absolutely sick. Want to give a big shout out to Last Flag for sponsoring today's video. Appreciate you guys, and let's jump into the content. Okay, so we finally get to start off the list with a little bit of fun, right? We typically start out doom and gloom. The early A through B is not exactly the most elite category in Rivals, but Adam Warlock is going to kick us off. And Adam can fly now, right? What does that do for him? Adam can fly. Well, I think he's pretty good. I mean, here's the thing. Let's go first with high elo, okay? He was always okay in high elo, and then there were some people that made him look very good, and now that they fixed his biggest problem being mobility, man, I think he's actually a threat. Now, can he be in 2 support system, right? Does he have to be in triple support? Well, let's break that down. First of all, triple support Adam is very good. I think he's one of the best triple support strategist out there. The problem is in this game, a lot of the times you only are going to get 2 supports, especially given most elos, even in high elo at times. So when you look at him in 2 support system, he doesn't work too well. First of all, he has a tough time kind of healing 2 tanks at a time, but also he's very easy to just shut down entirely. He can't heal that much damage at times unless you're just popping headshots nonstop. And so something like a Moon Knight with a couple other just heavy DPS characters on the other side is going to make it very hard for Adam. And so unless you have a very dive heavy team or just elite duelists that can get picks early, he's going to be tough to run with just, one other support, no matter who that might be. Now, that being said, you are going to see pros run like him and Loki, and there's stuff that can work out with the res in certain game modes like domination and whatnot. Overall, though, long spiel short, he could fly now. I'm going to put him in the A tier. I think he is going to be, a much better support moving forward. They fixed almost all of his problems with that mobility. He's elite. I think Adam is pretty damn good. But in low elo, I've had him in F tier for a long time. He's somebody that you have to rely on all of his cooldowns. He's a very high skill ceiling strategist, and you're going to see this with vanguards and strategists throughout today. Why play them when there's so many other easier options to get the job done? If I told you exactly how to climb Mount Everest, and I even flew you halfway up the mountain, guess what? You're still going to get frostbite and die. You're going to be dead maybe at a mile up the mountain. So just because you have the keys on how to do it and you even get an easier time for it, this is a terrible example. We're playing a hero shooter, but you get the point. I am going to take it from F tier to D tier. Mainly because I do think the mobility is going to help low elo a bit more, but he's still just far far worse than the other strategists within the game, in my opinion, especially if you don't have all the mechanics in game sense there. That was a long time on Adam, guys. Long time on Adam, but obviously got a big rework. We had to spend the time. Angela is up next, and last time I've had Angela, I believe, around the A tier and high elo, and that's exactly where I'm going to stick her now. I do think she's going to be an A tier, still kind of right there on the cusp. You know, those dedicated Angela players, like I said, are going to be able to make the most use out of her, and she can truly be a game disruptor. There are maps where she's an S tier pick. There are maps where she's like a C tier pick, and there's a lot of in between there. Her kind of one-on-one duels aren't exactly the same, and she has very hard counters. Two of those are server admins and Invis and someone like Bucky. And so A tier is about where she's going to land in the dive sense, especially where dive is at the moment. And then on the other side of things, I probably think she's still C tier for low elo, and I still think that's generous. If I was in a low elo game, low rank, we're talking silver, gold, platinum, and like I saw an Angela as our one tank, I'm going to crash out. It's as easy as that. All right, Black Panther. At this point, guys, it really doesn't matter how much like lethal dosage of copium that I'm hooked up to, how much I want to make him work, how much time I've spent trying to make him work, and damn it, play him, if I'm being honest. He's just not great. Now, I will say I've kind of switched things up. I actually think he's much better in low elo, and not by a lot, but I think he's about C tier in low elo. You're still missing plenty of things that make him great and the game mechanics to do so, but people have a harder time aiming and trying to hit him, and you can get away with it a lot more. Not talking about Smurfs, but just in the general sense. Even if your 180, quick reset of the dash isn't perfect, you're going to get, eliminations on those strategists for people not peeling for him. And so I've got him in C tier for low elo. That's where I would play him. Probably hard stop at like diamond, maybe somewhere in that area. Now, the absolute bottom of the Rivals barrel, just completely Guang's basement dying, is where he is in high elo. He's F tier. They're going to have to just rethink this character. There's a couple of characters in this game, and it's naturally going to happen the more and more we get hero-wise, that you can't just keep tuning their kits or giving them team-ups because then they're just too good. And Black Panther, he really rides this thin line, and so they're going to have to figure out how do they make such an infamous Marvel hero fun to use and good to use. And right now he's fun to use, but he's not good. And so he's going to be definitely representing the F tier. Black Panther, unfortunately, outside of the 0.1%, is just not going to be there. Way too many counters. Black Widow, on the other hand, hold on now. Gambit went from 275 to 250. She has a new hero she can one-shot with Mantis. Black Widow's right there with Black Panther, needs to be just reworked entirely. In fact, Elsa came out and just spit on Natasha. I mean, just absolute the disrespect of how much better Elsa is. We'll get to her in a little bit. I mean, we all know what the whole Kingsman drama was. Black Widow, like, single-handedly created the most viral buzz for this game ever. Not because how good she is, but because truly how bad of a character she is and choice most of the time. And less than the 0.1% CSGO prior players can make her work in some situations, but that's just not going to do it. I've talked about it a couple times. I don't want her to be able to one-shot characters in the head. I think Widowmaker is a disaster. I crash out with one-shot characters, so that's not the route. They've got to give her something more to the core identity of Black Widow, and there's so many ways to do that in Marvel. The comics, fantastic source material, so they're gonna have to cook something up for season 7, 8, whatever. I forgot to say where I rank her. Do I even need to, though? Next up, we have Blade, guys, and I love it. I just saw a comment the other day. Rivals always releases broken new heroes, and they forgot about Blade and just how utter trash he was when he came out, and he's still catching up. I think Blade has a lot of problems. I do think I am more high on Blade than some other people, but it doesn't mean he still doesn't have glaring issues. His whole shtick was to be this anti-heal kind of thing, and then they started giving that to other people, and then Triple Strat doesn't care about that, and so he winds up being in a very awkward place in the game. And for a guy named Blade, kind of weird, he's like the third best, maybe, sword wielder within Rivals. So where do we have him? I think last tier list, I kind of went on the tangent of why I think he is good in low elo. He's very momentum based. If you're up close in people's face with that sword and you're going crazy and the anti-heals popping percentage wise, he's very hard to deal with. And I think actually he's one of my favorite, to see pop off there in the low elo range, low rank games. Because of that, people have a hard time stopping him and they don't really know what to do, especially if you just start, slicing and dicing the 99 woodcutting on a Groot. However, that being said, B tier is probably the highest I'll place him in low elo. And then he's going to go down to D tier. You never see him. I try to make him work. People hate me. It's just not one hero that you get too much out of. You're just climbing an uphill mountain, right? When there's so many other options that you could be using other than Blade. And so they do also, I know this has kind of been a repeat, of what I've been saying throughout the video so far. I promise different takes will come. But I do think they need to add something to change him up. Whether giving him a very small new ability, changing his role entirely, or just the way that he works in his game flow. So D tier for high, B tier for low. All right, we've had a full season now of the Hulk, Bruce Banner. All right, where do we have him? Where does he rank up amongst the rest? Unfortunately, until they decide to do like a rage mechanic or something, he just is not in a favorable position. Elsa Bloodstone just puts an absolute shotgun barrel to his face. Punisher does. He has such a hard time surviving, and someone that is described as the Hulk. If no one's ever played this game and they're a big comic fan and they're like, oh, the Hulk is going to be absolutely a powerhouse that can just like never die. It's the direct opposite of that, right? So unfortunately, I think he's the worst tank in the game in low elo. I have him in D tier. He's obviously just an ult battery. You are just giving the enemy team an advantage for 10 reasons. The healing is not going to be there for your Vanguards because your Hulk's dead. You're not going to have the protection and the pressure or the push because your Hulk is dead. And then they don't have all the skill ceiling that they need. And then high elo, I think maybe C tier is the best I can put him. Even there, I feel like that's a misjustice. I think if you're giga cracked on him, you can get value. But a lot of the times, there's just always a better option, unfortunately, for Bruce Banner. All right, Captain America, guys. This is probably the lowest I've ever been on Cap in any of my videos. I've kind of always been a Cap believer. I still think always at the very high pro level, yay, Cap is amazing. Doesn't matter. That's 0.1% of the player base. For everybody else, where is he at? High elo, you never see him for a number of reasons. But really, like, his whole shtick and what he does isn't needed right now in the meta. And so even with like the cooldown that he got to his shield throw and all that great stuff, he's B tier. I think for the majority of people, he's going to be a B tier kind of hero. His sustains there, you can coordinate dive, but there's just better ways to do that. And so unfortunately, he's just falling down the list as of now. Get rid of that damn Bucky team up. They're always getting rid of team ups and maybe give him something better, more fun. And then D tier is going to be for low elo. You can survive forever, but that doesn't mean a lot if you're doing literally nothing for your team. It's like in Fortnite. I don't even play Fortnite. I just know the meme that you can like hide in a bush the whole time. You're gonna be alive the whole time, but what are you doing? My Cloak and Dagger didn't change much. I think because they didn't change, it's going to reflect exactly where I've had him at. This is one of the most consistent heroes in low elo at the S tier. You get the auto aim with the dagger. You get so much heals pumped out. It's just such an easy staple hero to play in low elo as that, heck, I mean, this is just, if you want to be a strategist main, you got to just roll with them first to really get the game mechanics down because of how much you offer for them. They have counters, but people aren't as good as landing those counter shots in low elo. S tier pick all the time, no question. And then in high elo, I've got her at A tier, and in a lot of scenarios could be even higher with the double terror cape. Really, we see this all the time. You're going to get certain of the, Gambit, Loki, they're going to get banned. Cloak and Dagger offers so much viability. And even with the Magneto ult slamming down or a number of things that can shut down their ult, you do 2 dashes up, 2 back, be with your team, the bubble to save you, starting cloak form so then you can phase out. There's a lot of ways to get around the weaknesses of Cloak and Dagger, and I think they're just a staple hero in the game. So A tier for high, S tier for low. All right, Daredevil, guys. Matt Murdock, he was once the best duelist in Rivals. And I think if you are a pure, dedicated, showerless, maybe a little hint of Adderall, like non-stop player of the game, Daredevil still is probably like, he's the best melee and just pure dive character, I think. You have to really just know his combos in your sleep. If you go in the practice range, you just perfect what he does well. I think that he's incredible. And so for that reason, high elo, I still think he's S tier. I mean, he's an amazing hero for so many situations. Gives your team intel. There's not enough good things I could say about him. Low elo, you're going to miss all those things. Flat out. You're just not going to have that skill level. So I don't care how cracked his kid is. You're not cracked typically at that ranked. And so you know, if you're amazing at all those things and your game sense is high and you know when to get in and get out, then sure, he's going to go higher. But B tier is the highest I can give him because of the dedication it takes to play him and the skill level provided. Now, I've been looking forward to this one. We've got Deadpool. And we did the tier list last time when Deadpool was out for about a week. And you have 3 different heroes that essentially came out. So it was very tough to rank Deadpool as a hero early on. And we saw a lot of things that were working well. Some things adapted extremely well and some did not, unfortunately. And we had a couple whiffs last tier list, right? We saw people get very high, myself included, dump hours into roles of Deadpool that just ended up kind of not working out. We're going to start with the duelist form, who just is known as like Deadpool in the community, right? And unfortunately, even though we all saw Deadpool as a duelist before he came out, it's it's his weakest role by a good amount. He just doesn't do a lot. His survivability isn't well, and you need to have absolute perfect mechanics to make him pop off. He got a marginal buff that is almost non-existent to his healing and his ultimate, but there's just so many better ways to use him. And so, yes, even if your clicks are perfect and everything's going just right for you, I can't put him higher than D tier for high elo. I think there's just better picks across the board, and he's not offering anything at a high level. Maybe he could go up to C tier, but I'm going to put him in D until proven probably otherwise, especially in my own games, but also stat-wise. But then in low elo, I've got him at the bottom of the barrel, guys. I hate to say it. If you have a duelist Deadpool on your team in low elo, you are at a significant disadvantage right off the rip. It's like Wade Wilson broke the 4th wall just to tell you you're going to lose the game because everything is not there. It's like why I used to put Adam Warlock in F tier. Deadpool requires way more out of a player than they should at that level of play. So he's just someone that I would avoid at most costs down there at the bottom. But good news is he is above Black Widow. So, you know, you've got that, I guess. Now, next we move on to heal pool. And this is where, let's just be frank about it, I kind of whiffed. I put a lot of time into heal pool. And when he first came out, the best players in the game, all the way down to just celestial play and into some low elo, strategist heal pool was amazing. Everybody thought that the way that he could get his ult so quickly means you could kind of snowball the battle early, and it was really cool. And his heals were great, and he was getting a lot of MVPs, and his numbers were just solid across the board. Good damage, good healing. What does he do wrong? There's a couple things. First of all, I think in triple support he is going to be great, and you know that's always good. But he's still not even the best in that lineup. And then in duo support, his main problem that heal pool has is first it takes a while for him to ramp up. And if you look at just getting his ult out there quickly, you've got that going for you. But because you die and the ult goes away, if there's a Star-Lord ult that's coming, which now is like every 5 seconds, you don't have a way to react to that because you're building up your ult still. And so you can't hold on to his ultimate as a strategist, which would also be broken if you could. And so because of that, you can't be reactionary, and that just puts you at a massive disadvantage no matter how much he does offer on the other side. I do think in domination, he can be pretty solid. Maybe he's a bump up there. I've got him in B tier for both. That's a huge fall off from where we all saw him. The pros still kind of swear by him in some ways. But for the most part, this is kind of where he's settling, especially because one role of Deadpool, which let's just get to, Vanguard, is by far the most busted in the game. And that has become very apparent, guys. I mean, hot damn. It's night and day what we've gotten to see Vanguard pool become. Tank pool. Okay, sorry, but not calling him by his legal name. First of all, you got a guy named Trust Me, who I often put in like the top 3 players in the world, especially in Vanguard. I think he's gotten to rank 1 on like 5 accounts just by playing him. And really it comes down to he does everything you want as a Vanguard, and his ultimate of his hammer just putting so much pressure on back strategists, which we knew when we've talked about before. It is so goated on this guy that he is the ultimate distraction as he should be. He's high mobility. He can dash and get out of danger. He can put a lot of pressure on. He can poke with his pistols. His shield is okay, but decent for different situations. And then his quick fire can burn down some of the most, beefy Vanguards in the game. Because of his ult and powering that up online first and then having everybody focus on that backline strategist, you're going to win most of the time when you get one of those strategists down, especially in high elo. He does take a lot of skill to play, and so he's going to be S tier, top tier in high elo play. And then he's going to be B tier just because of coordination and what you need to get the most out of him, right? Is just not really there. And I might even have him lower than that. He's not going to be a good one tank at all down there either. And so probably I would avoid him for the most part in low elo. Arguably could be C tier, but S tier, no question, and high. Okay, Dr. Stephen Strange. He just got a new team up. Where does that put him, guys? I might be higher up on Doctor Strange than most people are. I think the guy is like kind of a DPS in ways and is very good for so much pressure. And if you have Invisible Woman, which you always are going to have in low elo, the guy's awesome. He's in every game because of the portals and you have all that going for you. And if you die or if you're alive in a team fight and you need a portal back, but your Doctor Strange didn't die, there is liability there. Totally get it. If you're a good Strange, you're going to be aware of that. However, in low elo, guys, because of his portal, the way he plays, his beefiness as a tank, the big get behind me shield and push with pressure, the chances of landing Agamottos and being countered, and now his new burst ability with Invis, he's an S tier tank in my opinion at low elo play. I think he's a perfect representative of an anchor tank, and I definitely have him upgrading up to the top tier in low elo. In high elo, I think he's a low A tier pick. I still think he's super good. He's starting to find his place as this pressure solid all-around tank, and I think people are sleeping on him continuously. There are better tanks than him out there, so I can't put him at the top of the list. And Invis does get banned, you know, at times in top elo, and so if you lose that team up, you lose a little bit of that new bite that he has. You're less likely to hit Agamottos, but he still comes as a great package, and they're starting to kind of find his identity within Rivals. All right, Elsa Bloodstone, the newest hero in the game, the first hero, or one of which, that on release demanded an immediate balance patch because of how insanely disgusting this girl was on release. You know, we all saw the trailer and we're like, you know, kind of cool, a little simple. No, disgusting. She's the master of everything. Short, mid, long range, short cooldowns, insane pressure, good engagement. The ultimate is still kind of crazy. I wanted that new patch to come out before we did the tier list. Yes, the hitbox is way less, and from 12 seconds of being completely unmovable, you now only have like, what, 7 seconds at maximum. That's still a ridiculous amount of time. There's maps where it's giga busted, and then your team just following up with you, you can get insane wipes. Good against triple support. She is going to be a staple moving forward. I think Elsa Bloodstone is like the duelist to play if you can handle her right now. I'm going to put her in S tier for high elo. Don't even think that's a bold take. And for low elo, you're going to see a pattern here, but because of some of the game skill required, I do have her in A tier. She could possibly even go down to B because she is skill intensive. But gosh, that ultimate, the value you can get at that, even in low elo play, is going to be setting up some straight up game winning plays. And for that reason, it's pretty obvious. She's damn good. And if I'm going to be honest, guys, I kind of think I like it this way. Release them really solid and then immediately do a patch if it's too good, right? And then, you know, you don't have a hero like Blade that's kind of in no man's land forever, and then you can kind of make adjustments. And then it feels fun and fresh to play, you know, right off the bat. All right, we have a couple shifts like I talked about, guys, and that's going to happen again with Emma Frost, who has been in S tier a lot of the time in both elos at times for like the majority of her release. And now I've got her in A tier for both high and low elo. I do think right now she's not exactly getting all the value that she used to have, and people are not only getting smarter on how to play around Emma, but just like her like general use against dive has lowered and against certain matchups. And so she does still have great damage, and you know, she can do good things against dive, but she just isn't clicking in all cylinders anymore. And it's a little bit of a bummer because I love Emma, what she can do. Obviously her ult's crazy, the poke is tough though, and the meta's not perfect, you know, for her. She doesn't really need a buff. I think as meta adjusts, she might go, you know, right back up to S tier. And there's definitely players like TTK and other people you might know that make her look like, you know, one of the best heroes in the game. But she's on average A tier for the most part. All right, so we move on to Gambit, guys. And, you know, we're not going to waste your time around here. I want to try to get through this in a somewhat decent time. I swear in like season 20, we're going to have 2-hour tier list videos. But you know what? It's one thing you got to love about the game. Gambit, S tier for both still. I think they are nerfing the wrong things. I think this is a very common sentiment. His ult is the thing that needs to get adjusted in some way or fashion. His duration, what it does, and then bring back a lot of his base kit. They're doing exactly what they're doing to Gambit as they did with Thor, but the opposite. Instead of making his base kit good, they're making it worse, and then the ult is good. and Thor's ult is trash. But in Rivals, ults matter so much, and Gambit's is at the top tier of that. Not only that, he empowers one of the best team-ups in the game that takes a hero from like B tier to S tier. More on that later. And he's kind of brain dead easy to use. And so I'm going to put him in S tier for both. Low elo, ultimate, goes on. So S tier for both. Is he the best? We'll see. I've got some other words on some strategists we'll talk about. But yeah, he's very good. All right, moving on, we got the tree and Groot, who, he is got the craziest passive in the game, and that is just to completely ignore all balance patches. And it's because, for the most part, the skill ceiling is very high on this guy. And because of that, I usually have him, kind of low in low tier, and then, all the way up in S for the high. He is going to be an S tier still. He is still the overall, I think, just giga value tank in the game, from his ultimate to his high health pool to being one of the few, single vanguards that can play by themselves. And he has the health pool for the strategist to get their ultimates. His pressure, his engage, his damage, his sustain, his one-on-one, his close-off potential with walls. I can keep going if you want to. But short and sweet, guys, Groot is him at top-level play. And then low elo, I usually have him in C. I bumped him up to B. I think people are slowly getting better with him just in general. The walls will always be a problem. But if you just master a couple of things of his damage kit, you're still going to get that value. And the biggest thing I always undermine with him in low elo is the ult battery for your own team that you are. You have so much health that you're going to be able to give your strategist on your team that upper leg, and you definitely need that in low elo. And so for that reason, I have him in B tier for what he brings to the entire team with both his ultimate and then feeding other ults. So kind of opposite reasons for both tiers. So B tier for low, S tier for high. Next up, guys, we go to Hawkeye, who just got a bunch of nerfs, obviously in the emergency meta patch. And I've always had Hawkeye kind of in a middle ground. I think at high elo play, he is, easy to counter in a lot of ways, and you don't see him near as much outside of the 1% there. He's the Vanguard killer. He can pop off, go crazy. I've got him in B tier for high elo. Even with the nerfs at the high skill ceiling, still kind of gives that value for the team. Low elo, he's gone down even further. He's C tier. Those random kill cam shots that he didn't mean to hit, you're going to get less of those. His damage has gone down. The ult doesn't have the same effect. So Hawkeye, even though he can go a little bit more free in low elo, is just not going to be as much of a terror. That being said, I think there's a sweet spot in between these two, like Diamond, maybe Grandmaster, where Hawkeye gets the most value because he's like this perfect split of somebody that's decent at the game, but then the enemy team can't dive him. So maybe that's where you play him the most. But for now, this is probably where I'm going to have him and where I think he's going to stay for a while. Moving on, we go to Hela, who, just like Hawkeye, they're back-to-back. They both got nerfed, and Hela got a big one, right? Hela got her removal of the double tap for those 250 heroes, and that is a big drawback to her entire kit. Her Thorn damage has gone down. They've directly said, okay, 7 seasons is enough. We're gonna make the nerf happen for Hela, and they did it. And they didn't give her a buff to compensate, which they've done in the past. So Hela, though, is still a hit scan hero that does immense damage. The ult is great for different reasons. She's always gonna shine in like Brawl because they have a hard time getting to the ultimate. She has good mobility and a stun, everything you still want, but she's not giga busted anymore. So I'm going to go with A tier for both low and high elo. Low elo, she could probably bump down to B. I think she's at the very, very bottom of A. But I have most of the hit scans here at A tier, even if they're good. Like, if you want the most raw damage in the game, hit scan's still the way to go. The Namor team up is still very good. But she's a bit of a shadow of what she once was, especially, Phoenix has done that to her, but now we also have Elsa. All right, Johnny Storm. This is a very easy one to sum up. They got rid of the Fantastic team up, and everybody got a new team up but Human Torch. And if that's not indicative of what they think about Human Torch and those that love him, I don't know what else is. I think they've got to give this guy more speed. I know it's crazy. He's a shotgun flyer, and he can't move, man. He's the opposite of Human Torch. Like, imagine in the movies if he was like, flame on, and then he's like barely moving. And he would do nothing for the team. They'd be like, sit this one out, bud. He's in such a weird place because I like his kit, but you don't see him, and he doesn't get that value. You're going to get a little more in low elo because people don't look up. You're going to hear that plenty today. So I've got him in C tier for that, but you're not going to see him that often. So many better picks out there, especially with Storm and others getting upgrades. And then D tier for high elo. I'm doing my best to keep him out of F, but really I don't think he's going to bring much value, and you never see him. On the inverse, guys, Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. They addressed her a couple times. They've now adjusted the cooldown on her push and pull. I still think I need to make sure people understand this. Invisible Woman is still just easily one of the best strategists in this game. The shield that she has gives her such an advantage against so many different scenarios. You could protect your team. You are effectively like doubling your own health and survivability and the self-heal. You're equipped with a one move, even off a longer cooldown, that can shut down like 80% of the game's roster in clutch moves and game-winning moves. Her healing's good, the ult's great, and her damage is solid. Invis is S tier for both, and this is the easiest decision. The nerfs aren't going to do much to change my mind. Moving on, we go to Iron Fist, who has kind of always been in this little land I like to call Iron Fist land. Not a creative name. We're still working on the branding. He's in that like category of Black Panther that you can't do too much, you know, to make him crazy, but they've tried to do little small increments. And I always describe him as like a Dragon Ball Z fighter, like 20-minute episode, 1,000 punches, but nothing is really happening. His survivability is so high, and you're like forced to not do damage to him because the block and the way that he can continue just to survive and escape and come back. However, I kind of think he's just not a problem for the most part. There's going to be Iron Fists that run lobbies. We've talked about that. But for the most part, he's kind of a C tier hero, maybe B tier in a lot of ways. And yeah, his skill ceiling can go higher, but he just doesn't offer something individually that I don't think I would I'd rather get mobility somewhere else and damage, you know, in another one of these better heroes. And so again, unless you're just like obsessed with Lin Lee, I just think there's better options. That being said though, there's like all the Vanguard maidens probably like absolutely hate this guy, and that's obviously warranted. Okay, we got Iron Man, who it's crazy. Like him and Black Panther are just, they're drowning at the bottom of the rivals pool, begging for life. Getting new costumes and skins, but begging for life. I like the Avengers. It's an alternate, you know, multiverse. It's the Ass Avengers for what Iron Man leads, especially in high elo. And I think I almost want to say it's okay. You know, like, so Scarlet Witch, no surprise, and high elo is not good either. You're going to have heroes in games like this with rosters this big that are going to be better for more casual players. And I think Iron Man, that's the role they have intended for him, unless they want to change that. He's too iconic, I feel like, to do that, but that's the way it's working right now. He's slow, he's easy, super exposed. Poke destroys him. He just doesn't offer much to the table. And I mean, try giving his ultimate a shield. I don't know. Or that he can like hold it. I don't know. I just think he's just not a great hero in high tier play. And so you're going to hear a lot of people say he's awful. That being said, guys, the reason I do high elo and low elo tier list, and I'm always going to do low rank and high rank, is because it matters, man. Skill matters in this game, and some heroes are meant to shine for casual or low rank play. And if that's you, it's okay, man. That's awesome. We're all getting better, right, at different things in life. You're trying to get better at rivals. Iron Man at low level play is goated. I think he's very good. The dude does everything you want. Huge splash damage. You know, people aren't good at hitting flyers. Your mobility, his slowness is now, hey, he's kind of quick. His huge like instant KO ult is going to get value. People are not going to be able to stop it as easy. And so he is much better in low elo. I've got him in A tier. Moving on, guys, we go to Jeff. Gonna be quick with this one. I think he's B for low and he's C for high. I think Jeff is very mobile and does some cool things, consistent damage. Definitely better in low elo for a lot of reasons. But overall, faster and faster characters are getting released in the game, like Elsa, and they have more and more ways to deal with his ult and kind of his shtick that he offers as a strategist. When you look at the other options, there's just probably better ones to pick out there. Storm is better, so low elo, you can do that combo. Venom in him and high elo does work out as well. But he's just kind of, he's falling down more and more. And with like Magneto, Namor, and plenty of other ults, not exactly the best strategist right now in the game. The God of Mischief, Loki. I think, guys, Loki is and kind of always has been still like one of, if not the best strategist in this game. I just think about this. His kit is so good. His survivability and damage is awesome. His healing numbers are insane. His crystals is still the best move in the game that's not an ultimate. And then his ultimate could be any ultimate, right? And so because of that, he's banned often in high elo play and has to be. He's S tier, no question. Low elo, a lot of those things that make him great. I've talked to a lot of low rank players and they're like, hey, I don't know how to get a lot of healing from him. Like his kit just doesn't flow as well and is just made for high level play. So I've got him in B tier as I typically do for low elo. And with that, we go to Luna Snow, who's also, once Luna and Loki meta, both S tier picks, are now kind of in that middle of the pack. Luna Snow in low elo, you gotta have good aim, and the things that she brings to the table is just not gonna be there for the most part. Probably one of the strategists I like to play the most. I think she's one of my most played strategists. I like the way her damage works and what she offers. Her self-idol is kind of nice for her survivability and or damage boost. You know, if your teammates are pissing you off and you're like, you know what, I'm going to boost myself. And in low elo, putting that idol on somebody is always nice because you are, you know, healing them passively a lot of the time. But she just is still very easy to handle. You know, there's a lot of times Luna on my team is the reason why we lost. If she would have just played Invis or whatever else was open. And so with that ult too, like everybody's all over the place now. You got Deadpool's halfway across the map. Angela's again in Marvel Rivals 2. Daredevil's, you know, trying to kill 5 supports. And so your ultimate doesn't have that same everybody get in my heal circle and survive. And so there's a lot of things that are kind of hurting her. And that's kind of, in my eyes, what has been the biggest difference. So B tier for high, C tier for low. Magik. I think Magik is one of those like clear cut. If you only play Magik, you can just run lobbies in the game. For the most part, I think she is the dead middle ground of Rivals in terms of majority of players. Can offer a ton of just pressure and usefulness for the team, but can also do nothing a lot of the time, right? Now, I gotta say, if you get like an animated Magik icon in your lobby, like let them do what they do best. But for the average, I'm going to have her in B tier for low and high elo. I'm sorry, Kingsman. I'm sorry. I think this is probably where she lands for the majority of people. However, with Strange being more and more in games and that team up being available, it does significantly make her better. And so if Strange is there and you get the chain team up, maybe she bumps up a letter grade. Magneto, King Magnus. All right, guys. He's the offense, the defense god, the little bubbles, the big bubble above his head, the poke that he continually does and the way that he can control games. What he counters, he's still S tier, and I like this has gotta be, when you clicked on this video, the hero you thought the most was gonna be in the tier where they belong. Okay. Season 7, my hot take is Magneto is going to get some adjustments. I think season 7, they're going to take a lot of risks. We'll have to see. But yeah, Magneto, even though he does have a lot of balance to him, it's just been such a safe pick for so long. There's definitely higher skill ceiling choices for Vanguard that can outshine him at high levels of play. And in low level, he's such a safe choice, especially as a solo tank. Next up, we've got Mantis, guys. And Mantis is always such a tricky hero that I have a tough time placing, because where do you place a hero that it has to be in triple support or offers not a lot of value? And we kind of found that with Adam Warlock, and that's why she's going to be an A tier for high elo, the best triple support, insane, crazy value at high rank play if you can get the job done. Her sleep is awesome. Once you kind of figure out the kit and the slow heal that she's a slow burn, but she kind of makes up for that in the damage, and is very close and can be used in 2 healer only at certain times. But she has just been consistent, and we've seen that time and time again. She's not moving in high elo. Low elo, all those things, like triple support is almost never going to happen. The aiming you need for the damage, not going to happen. The sleep is fine and can kind of get you out of some sticky situations, but is so kind of self-sufficient. I just think all the things she offers in high elo doesn't have in low. Unfortunately, I've got her in D tier for low elo. All right, Mr. Fantastic is going to stay, I think, the same. If you are new to the tier list, I've got him at the top of the top. No questions about it. He is an S tier, low rank, just final boss. Such a solid hero, and he got now the Rocket Raccoon team up to make him even better and more flexible. Aha! The pun, I'm always going to say it. I have to. Groot just eats this guy's lunch. You see way less of those in low elo. So all the things that counter him, you're not going to see. He's quite literally unkillable a lot of the time. People with poke and aim aren't present. I'm trying to get the message across. If you are stuck in low elo hell at times and you think you're great at the game, just play Mr. Fantastic. He's fantastic. Now, high elo, I still think he's kind of going to be niche a lot of the time. That's where I've got like Iron Fist, for example. Not always the pick that I would choose. Maybe he could float in low B. Some people make him work. Some tournaments, I've seen him kind of, be an okay pick in domination. If it's overtime and it's like 1 minute to 1 minute, definitely pick him on defense. He's super annoying in that situation, like him and the Thing, and there's some other things you can pair him up with. But overall, he's probably C tier on average and high elo. All right, so Moon Knight. Where to put Moon Knight? I still think Moon Knight is like my favorite low rank DPS choice, and or if you're just having a tough time, like if you ride the line between being like very gifted game mechanic wise but can't quite play the heroes dedicated with aim, I think Moon Knight is the perfect choice. His damage is stupid. His ultimate and the hand of Khonshu charges so quickly, and low elo for fast kills and high elo for fast pressure. S tier for low, A tier for high. That being said, I think he's like the top of A tier for high elo. You can just combo with him with so many ults. He's good out the gate. Solid pick right now. All right, Namor, guys. I definitely still think that I'm higher up on Namor than most are, and with the new additions to him, I think the fact that Namor can play poke, he can play flank, his ultimate gets usage, he's self-sufficient, and then he can handle like pesky dive or even an Elsa dashing all over. Might be a bold take, but I definitely have him in S tier for low elo. That's no question. The turrets doing half the work for you is why you want to pick him, right? In high elo, I've got him at the very low bottom of S tier. I think that he deserves to be here because of everything just listed. I've seen him single-handedly be played to win tournaments, to combo for everything you need, and has the perfect balance of what you are looking for. May not be the best duelist in the game flat out, but is definitely in contention for it. All right, so Peni Parker, guys, you know, it's not often they get rid of a team up a lot of people love. You know, they typically get rid of the ones that people don't really think about all too much. And once they got rid of that team up, it just plummeted her value. She's in D tier, bottom of D tier. I think the worst tank right now in Rivals for the top level of play. And then, you know, yes, the win rate, she's the very top of it, no question, especially in low elo. But overall, the nest and just that acting as like that little nest bot acting as just a tank in its own gives you 2 tanks in low elo. Obviously, she's not valuable on every map, but the majority of them, like all dominations, if you can get to the point first, and a lot of the maps where they're trying to get that objective, like defensively, such a good bunker hero. Very brain off, kind of lower S tier, but definitely S tier for low elo. All right, now as for Phoenix, about the same. You know, she did get a little bit of an HP nerf, but is going to be S tier for high elo and A tier for low. The things that make her good in high elo, you don't get as much, like, you know, having that synergy with her ult in most occasions, and some of the more accuracy that you do need to hit with the hit scan. Overall, though, still very consistent and just, you know, a tier above the rest for the most part in the duelist department. Psylocke, guys, is the definition of look how they massacred my girl. I mean, they've completely, I think, just have made this hero, I don't want to say irrelevant, but is in a bad place. You know, they fixed her neutral game, but unfortunately, Rivals, very ult heavy game, and that completely kind of took the wind out of her sails for low elo. She's bottom of B tier. I think that's being generous. And in high elo, there's just better options, right? You know, the best of the best players aren't playing her, and even in the middle ground, there's not a lot of reasons to pick her in the given meta. I think that time will tell. I think she can definitely get better, but they've just continued to take away things that make her unique, and it's sad because I love Psylocke, one of my most played heroes. Unfortunately, triple support, the good vanguards at the moment, the duelists that are better, all do everything better than her, and so she is going to be B tier for both. All right, so Rocky Raccoon kind of had a tough time placing over and over. I was putting him in A tier and high elo, then B tier, then A tier. I think he's at the toppest level of B tier that you can be in the game at high elo because of him being a good choice against dive, right? And I think always having the res, man, it's tough. I kind of want him in A tier. I just think the other choices are probably better. Having that res is just so game-changing in a number of situations. And then the ult, if you know where to place it and you want to separate yourself from the rockets that just press the button, then that's definitely, you know, a good place to start. I think he could easily be A tier. I'm going to have him at the top of B, though, for now. And then, guys, for low elo, I mean, it just doesn't get better than this. Like, if a duelist on your team is doing awful and they switch to Rocket, you're going to win the game. He is everything of consistency in low elo, that having an extra life for that stupid-ass teammate that just decides to, like, go and charge the point is also clutch. You know, it's not the best for the Spider-Man that takes it, but it's still going to give you that value and mistake-free kind of things that you need. His healing continues to be great. You know, they're probably going to nerf his mobility 10 more times because why not? But Rocket's still clutch pick and low elo. All right, guys, so Rogue is always such a fun hero to rank because it's tough. This is another one that I've had to go up and down in different areas because of what she kind of brings to the game. I think if Gambit gets adjusted to a way where he's not banned all the time, all of a sudden, Rogue and Gambit together is a team up that you always have to play. Rogue's team up with Gambit is probably one of the biggest team ups in the game that gives somebody a significantly better kit and just complements her in every which way. No other way around it. If you do have Gambit, her play goes way up because of what you can do for backlines and just constant pressure. And because of that, you know, she kind of evens out. She's B tier for both high and low elo. In low elo, you don't get the sustain heals. If you're solo tank, it's hell. But you do have Gambit more often, and if you do, then obviously she's going to be able to provide that value. Her ult's solid, and dedicated rogue mains are some of the scariest freaking people in this game, I gotta be honest. We've yet to dip into pro play that starts at the end of March, but I'm still just certain that we're gonna see rogue. All right, so Scarlet Witch, guys, I mean, we talked about this time and time again. It's the reason why we have low and high elo. Top of low elo, you know, she's very top of A tier, if not S tier, with Strange being more and more involved, and you have that team up. She's one of the easiest, best picks you can have to go and counter flyers, to fix bad aim, and just to be an easy ult button. I think if the team up is there with Strange, she's one of the best. So top of A for most given situations, and then in high elo, exactly where you think she's going to be. I finally put her down to F tier. Everything she does that makes her easy to play, makes her easy to figure out. And for most players in the game at a high level of play, they just know what they're doing, right? And hey, if you're getting value out of her, awesome. Good for you. Keep playing the character. But yeah, she's unfortunately just where she has to be most likely moving forward unless they change her identity. Okay, so Spider-Man, guys. Man, when dive is hot, Spider-Man is crazy. And I think we have to give the respect that if you are at a high rank play, you're probably going to be offering more value more of the time than you aren't. And I think I said this last tier list. I've seen tournaments, dare I say, I think Spider-Man at the top level of one-trick ponies is the best hero in the game that can make the biggest difference. Flat out. No question. We saw in a couple community tournaments these one-trick Spider-Man players that quite literally were winning games, and then when they got banned, they got rolled. The difference this can make of the headspace and the mental of the strategist, getting pulled off as a vanguard, getting picked as a duelist. Spider-Man is such a good hero, but not everyone can play at that level. We got to be honest, right? So to keep it a buck, he's at the highest level of B tier at high elo. And for the majority of players, I still think D tier might even be too high in low elo. You just don't have the time in the practice range, and or you're low rank for a reason. If you're Smurf and you're amazing at Spider-Man, congrats, you're going to be over on the high elo side eventually. But for the majority of Spider-Man players, this is a throw pick most of the time in low elo games. Okay, so Squirrel Girl got a buff, and where does that place her? I think she's like slightly above Iron Man and Scarlet Witch in that kind of high, low elo territory, and offers some value. Most of the time, Moon Knight's gonna be a better pick in high elo. She's D tier for what she offers. Her ult that she summons the squirrels look like absolute. It's like a, I don't even know how to do, like a Mewtwo against a Weedle. When you look at Elsa's ult and what she summons, right? So clearly they've got to just maybe fix the ultimate. This game is very ult driven, and that is obviously what's keeping her back. That being said, holy damage in low elo. I mean, you can just keep firing on the point like on Clintar over and over, and you're just gonna get kills for your team. She is a low elo terrorist in every sense of the word. I've got her in S tier for low, D tier for high. Star-Lord, guys, I got a spoiler. He will be getting a ult buff again in season 7, because why not? You know, they gave it to him once before. They're going to keep giving it to him. His matchups are great. His flanking is solid. He can be up there and close in the front lines to farm the ult now even quicker. He's quick. His damage is solid. If you have insane aim, you can one-clip people. Star-Lord, I think, is just one of the best overall heroes in the game. And then they buff him, so he's going to continue to be that. You do need some game mechanics for him. I've got him in A tier for low elo, but the ult is going to get even more value in that elo. And so, you know, it kind of equals out there. He could just be an ult machine. And then in high elo, I think he's kind of where Namor is, kind of towards the bottom of S tier, but definitely deservingly one of the best duelists in the game. All right, moving on to the X-Men, guys. We have Storm, and if you know, I've been a huge Storm believer and player for a while now, and man, they buffed her, and I could not be more excited. The changes to Storm has made her be able to survive in the neutral way more, and just provide much more pressure and damage and identity, and not just be this team-reliant hero that's kind of like a pseudo-strategist. They don't have like these kind of flex roles, but that's what she was, and it turned out being awful. Now, I had her ranked up decently high in low elo at times because her Omega Hurricane and that ultimate is literally game winning. I can't tell you how easy it is to win objectives with this in low elo play, because Phoenix and whatnot to counter her is just not there as much. But her changes made her great. I think she's A tier for low elo. And damn it, I'm going to be on the train. I think she is low A tier for high elo. even with all the poke out there. I think the beginning of the Storm era is slowly creeping on, and what she can do to boost up the damage around her. She did take a cut in that, but her ult is still there, and now the presence of Storm makes her one of the most formidable flyers in the game. Next up, guys, we got Punisher, who I struggled again with placing where I want him in high and low elo. Ultimately, I landed on him in B tier at the top of it for high elo, and then in low elo A tier. I think in low elo play, just that constant barrage of his assault rifle makes him very lethal combined with his ult. And then in high elo, the shotgun is the most dangerous thing in the freaking game. And so you kind of have like different reasons for both, but he's a very great, just all around hero. And his ultimate now just got even easier to get. And so Punisher continues to get better. I don't think I recommend him over, some of the other hit scan, but if all those got banned out, but now you have Elsa, Phoenix, and Hela you can choose between. So when are you going to get Punisher added in there? He obviously combos, super well with some heroes, but can be countered very easily by something like a Namor ult. So this feels about right where he is in the meta at the moment. And with that, guys, we move on to The Thing. And listen, I think with him being able to just dive on opponents, get the damage reduction, get vulnerable on them so everybody can combo and completely erase somebody, from the video game. Quite honestly, Thing also is probably one of the biggest counter picks to a large majority of the hero pool in the game, and is very easy to pick up and do your part as the Thing. Do your thing as the Thing. I learned him in half a season and got immediate value. I love him. And top level pro play loves him as well. I've got him in B tier for high elo at the very top of it. Could sneak into A tier, but that's about where he's going to be for this season. And then I've got him in A tier just because of his ease of play. As a solo thing, it's not near as good in high level play. Definitely want another tank in there. However, people are going to punish you a lot less because he does struggle against poke, and there is less of that at low elo play. But his ult is going to get more value there, so it's a little bit of a trade-off. Move on to Thor, God of Thunder, and, they kind of changed a little bit of his survivability, and they've added stuff with his hammer throw, and ultimately, he's kind of where he's been at for both elos. I think he's gotten a little worse in low elo because of how easy that dash was to kind of get going, but I still do have him at the top of just being a bully and great vanguard within the game. Just insane damage. His awaken is good for poke. He's good at bowling. Heck, if you can get kidnapping down at low rank play, you're gonna blow your enemy team's mind because you can just kidnap the one vanguard and win the game, and your ult gets value. So it's S tier for low elo, and then I've got him in A tier for high elo. He does everything you want out of a Vanguard, in my opinion, and a good Thor can get things out of control pretty quickly. A tier for high. Next, we move on to Ultron, and I'm trying to figure out how to say this nicely. I think he's absolutely complete garbage. I never want an Ultron on my team. Triple strategist, maybe, but still no. Most of the time, you just don't get that value from Ultron. Yeah, the healing is a bit easier to have in low elo and people don't look up, but he's still a D tier pick, and I think that there's just better strategists to play. Quite literally, any other strategist. I think I'd rather have him than an Atom at low level, but Mantis I would have rather than him, and pretty much everything above that. Flyers have a tough time with how good poke is, and you add that his ultimate doesn't really make a big difference. He's in a weird spot, even with double drones. All right, so Venom, he got a huge buff in his overall health pool, but where does that land him? I think it's going to kind of stick him around the same area for high elo. He's going to be high B tier, in my opinion, and can work in dive. Dive is, again, somewhat struggling at times, but I do think is always, solid in the right team comps, and his survivability is much better with that ultimate. You just don't see him that much, if I'm being honest, but you can make him work, and there's definitely ways that he gets the value and the constant pressure. He is a triple support menace that can go in there, and they don't have enough damage to deal with him, and they never kill him, and then eventually Venom gets the pick, so you could put him higher in a lot of situations. I bumped him up in low elo because I think the health boost was much more beneficial there. He is quite literally unkillable now in low elo, and again, enough poking and prodding and symbiote killing, you're going to get some eliminations and end up getting value for Venom. So I've got him in B tier for both. Winter Soldier, the server admin, the anchor of Marvel Rivals, the guy that can do it all, counter most and not be countered himself, doesn't get nerfed. Some people view him as the perfect balance character. Some think, how the hell does he continue to not get nerfed in the game? I think Winter Soldier is at the very top pinnacle of A tier, and at times could be even S tier. His ultimate's good value. Obviously not as good as it used to be, but still insanely solid. The hook will always be dominant within the game. And the dude just has answers to every problem in the back line. Love Winter Soldier. And then we end on Wolverine, guys. Wolverine, our last hero of the day, and they buffed his ultimate significantly. And with that, I think they've made Logan an absolute terrorist amongst the game. Right now, Wolverine, I think, is going to be the hero we see the most at pro play and is creeping up there to essential and high level play. Has some easy counters, but offers so much value that even if you counter him, he kind of already got his objective. And Last Stand is out of all the ults they could have just given that much love to, one of the craziest because of what it can do and the way that you can take strategists out of ults. He's an answer to Vanguards and triple strat at times. Good God, he's a menace. I've got him in top of A tier for high elo. And then low elo, there's not enough tanks. You don't get all that value out of him. His passive gets way more value down there. And getting that ult is going to be pretty dangerous. So low B tier for low. So there you guys go. Look around. This is where everybody is going to be ranked for season 6.5. I'm hoping for some significant changes overall in season 7. As always, I kind of have an MVP in each role. I do think this one's a little bit more tough than usual. You know, obviously Phoenix got a tad bit of a nerf. Overall, though, right now, I think Elsa's going to be hard to top. Elsa is a very good hero. I think could be a little early to give her that, but I do have her, at least recording-wise, as my favorite duelist in this season. In terms of strategists, I'm going to give it to Loki, even though Gambit's right there. I think Loki's going to do what Gambit does. Obviously, it could be Gambit for more reasons than one, but I think Loki is that ultimate complement for any team comp and the majority of the answer. For both tiers, I would say Gambit, but for, you know, just looking at best to play, I'm going to go to Loki. And then for Vanguard, if you look at both high and low elo, certainly it's probably Magneto. But if you're looking at just the best of the best to, you know, sink your time into, right now, I think it's Vanguard Deadpool. That or Groot. I think both of those are super solid options. Now, we've come to the point in the video that not everybody wants to know how the hot dog was made. They just want the results. And I get it, okay? You clicked on the timestamp. I got you. Sometimes, though, you can't skip the movie. You have to see how the character development happened, and you're missing all that if you did click this. But if I caught you, what's up? Subscribe down below. It's free for you. It helps just keep doing what we're doing over here. And at the very least, just want to say a big thank you to all you guys for 150K. I'll be giving away a full year of a season pass to one of my subscribers down below, so be sure to say what's up, and also let me know what you agree or disagree with as well. Big thank you to Last Flag for sponsoring today's video, and until the next one, guys, happy rivaling.